You've probably heard it before. Cybersecurity threats are getting smarter and more serious, and cyber criminals are constantly finding new ways to trick us. As a business owner, I know how tough it can be to stay ahead of all the latest online dangers and threats. It really feels like every day there's something new to worry about. But what if you could spot these threats before they do any real damage? Today, I'm going to walk through 7 of the most sneaky and dangerous types of malware that are out there right now. And by the end of the video, you'll have a better understanding of what they are, as well as the tools that you need to better protect your business and make sure that you're not caught off guard by these evolving threats. Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Kinnett. I'm CEO and founder of iTernal Networks, and here at iTernal Networks, we believe in empowering others with the knowledge that they need to succeed and to stay safe. So every Friday around 1 p.m. Pacific time, I go live on all of our socials to talk about different educational topics with a focus on technology and cybersecurity to help empower other people with the knowledge that they need. These live streams really aim to help others to feel more confident in their knowledge about business technology and cybersecurity. At iTernal Networks here, we're dedicated to creating safe and secure environments for people and businesses to do what they love and to thrive in what they're passionate about. And staying updated and educated on technology is a big part of making sure that your business environment is safe and secure so you can do what you do best. At the end of the live stream, I'll be answering questions. So if you got any questions at any point in time, just throw them in the comments and I'll cover those at the end. That being said, let's move on to today's topic. Malware threats. They seem to be everywhere, and they seem to be anything but predictable these days. Cyber criminals are constantly getting more creative and finding new ways to sneak into businesses and to cause damage. It's no longer really a one-size-fits-all problem, and keeping up with the latest threats can feel like a full-time job. And for some people, it is, right? I mean, and we're grateful for those cybersecurity professionals that's all they do is go out and analyze these latest threats to help us to better understand them. But don't worry, you don't need to do that. You don't need to make that your full-time job. That's exactly why we're here today. I'm going to walk through 7 of the sneakiest types of malware that are making waves in 2025 so that you can stay one step ahead of those criminals that are targeting you. So let's start off with the first one. The first one I want to talk about it's called polymorphic malware. That's a mouthful. Think of this type of malware as kind of like a chameleon. It can change its appearance every time it attacks and does different things. Polymorphic malware constantly mutates its code, its name, its encryption, all these different things, right? It's mutating and changing to make it hard for traditional security software to catch it. What this means is that your traditional antivirus that's based on signatures might miss it. The best defense in polymorphic malware is really keeping your protections up to date and making sure that you're not just using an antivirus program, but you're using an advanced endpoint security product that includes behavioral analysis and machine learning. Even though it's polymorphic and it's changing what it looks like, it still does the same thing. And so having an endpoint security platform that looks at the behaviors of the program instead of just what it looks like will help to detect those and to protect your systems. All right, next one, fileless malware. This is kind of a scary one. Fileless malware doesn't even need a file to invade your system. You don't need to download something. You don't necessarily need to open an attachment. Instead of being a file on your computer and sitting on your hard drive, it runs directly in your computer's memory, leaving no trace behind. Since it doesn't rely on a file that sits on your hard drive to do its dirty work, it's really difficult for traditional antivirus detection methods. Attackers love using this method to exploit vulnerabilities in software that's already running on your machine, making it a hidden and very dangerous threat. So once again, traditional antivirus applications may not be able to detect this threat because of how it operates. Traditional antivirus scans the files on your hard drive. It doesn't necessarily look at what's running in your memory. And so this is where, once again, advanced endpoint detection and response security tools can be your best friend to help you to detect and analyze your system and find indicators of attack. Additional tools that feature application whitelisting and ring fencing can also make sure that this type of threat isn't able to spread before it's detected. Really, this fileless malware is designed as an entry point to get into the system, to look for other vulnerabilities to spread using other malware methods. So we want to catch that and block it as quickly as possible. All right, next one here is ransomware. And I'm going to call this ransomware 2.0 because really ransomware has upped its game. Originally with ransomware, right, your data would be encrypted and the criminals would say, hey, pay us this money and we'll give you the key to unlock and unencrypt your files so you can get back to business. And if you had a backup, great, right? You're like, hey, you know what? We don't need your encryption key. We'll just restore from backup and we'll get up and running. Well, this is where ransomware 2.0 comes in because the new wave of ransomware is using double extortion. So first, it encrypts your files just like ransomware 1.0. But they also steal your sensitive data and threaten to release it unless you pay up. So they want you to pay an extortion to unlock your files. And they're finding more and more people are having backups and saying, well, we don't want to pay. And so they're saying, okay, well, fine. Then we're going to release it to everybody on the web if you don't pay a second ransom. So you're stuck kind of between a rock and a hard place. Pay the ransom or risk losing your reputation. To protect yourself from this type of attack, obviously, you need strong backups. But you also need to encrypt your critical data and make sure that you have continuous monitoring to detect any data exfiltration. If the data is encrypted, criminals can't do anything with it, right? It's just a bunch of gibberish. And if you're monitoring for data exfiltration, you're going to be able to detect when large amounts of files start going off-site in a manner that you're not expecting, so you can then shut that off and block it. All right, rootkits is the next one. Rootkits are incredibly sneaky. Once they're on your system, they give hackers persistent total control, often without leaving a trace. This is like the holy grail to a hacker, right? They want persistence. They want to be able to stay on your system after a reboot, right? After maybe certain things are cleaned up. They want to be able to have that total control on an ongoing basis, because what that allows them to do is to scan through your network and look at other systems and other files and plan on spreading throughout your network and launching a larger attack. They can use this method to install more malware. They can monitor your systems, your activities on it, collect passwords or other critical data, or even steal all of the data off of your system, often without you noticing if you don't have the proper monitors and protections in place. Rootkits are also tough to clean up. Sometimes they lead to requiring a complete system wipe to fully get rid of them. In order to detect rootkits, you need to make sure that you have an endpoint security application that's capable of performing rootkit scans to detect and remediate against this type of threat. All right, now we're on to number 5, spyware. Spyware is nothing new. It's been around for a long time. It's still being used frequently. Spyware is a type of malware that's kind of like a quiet intruder that just sits there and watches everything that you do online without your consent. It tracks your keystrokes, browsing history, personal data. It's usually bundled with freeware or hidden in other malicious ads or other applications. While it doesn't cause immediate harm, it does compromise your privacy and can lead to identity theft or financial loss if left unchecked. Spyware is often bundled in with some of these other types of malware that we've talking about, right? So sometimes it starts as a rootkit, or maybe it starts as fileless malware and it spreads to rootkit, and it spreads to spyware, and it spreads to other things. And so this is just one of those other types that it's important to be aware of. All right, number 6, this is also not a new one, Trojans. If you're familiar with your world history and the Trojan horse, right, that's kind of where this gets its name from. Trojans disguise themselves as trustworthy software, right? Hey, that's a nice looking wooden horse. Let's bring it into our city, right? And so they use the same methods. They trick you into downloading this nice, trustworthy looking software. And then once they're in, they can steal your data, corrupt files, or install other even more malicious software to commence their attack on your organization. They're often spread through shady websites, email attachments, or other compromised downloads. So be extra cautious when downloading anything from a source you don't fully trust. Just a quick story on an example of this. There's a law firm that we provide IT services for, and several years ago, I get a phone call from them, and they said, "Hey, we're involved in this lawsuit against our clients going after this large corporation, and the counsel for the other party told us to download this program." And so we went and found the program and downloaded it. Well, guess what? It led to, luckily our security tools detected it and blocked it, but it led to a potential ransomware attempt because they did a Google search for the name of the program that this other counsel provided them with, and they Googled it, clicked on the first link, and that first link actually took them to a malicious download that was a Trojan horse. So, even though it can seem perfectly safe, that's the idea with Trojan, right? So just be very, very, very careful and make sure that the source that you're downloading anything from, and that it's fully trusted. And if you have any questions about something, you're like, "Hey, I need to install something and I don't know if this is a trustworthy site," reach out to your IT consultant. And if you don't have one that you trust, reach out to me. I'd gladly take a look at that for you and point you in the right direction. All right, this leads us to our last one. And I saved this one for last on purpose because it's a little bit unique among this list of the different types of malware, in that this one isn't really a type of malware. This one isn't about threat actors exploiting technology flaws to gain access. In fact, it's not even about anything on the computer. It's about tricking people. And I'm talking about social engineering. This is a tactic, not really a malware, but it's a tactic used by threat actors to spread malware, to deploy all of the other types of malware that I just talked about. In fact, it's one of the most common ways of malware being spread. Social engineering disguises itself as something trustworthy, like an email or a file or somebody that you know on Facebook, to lure victims into clicking and downloading it. It's a psychological game, and sadly, it works frequently. The best defense is training your team and yourself to spot phishing attempts and other types of social engineering to make sure that you're not falling for these threat actors that are trying to trick you. All right, so talked about different types of malware here. I provided a little bit of direction on some tools that you need for that. I want to kind of summarize that and maybe add a little bit to that. If you want to keep your computers, your data, your business safe, you can follow these steps to help keep you more safe than obviously not doing these things. First, make sure your software is up to date. Software contains vulnerabilities, security holes, and updates. Once those security holes are detected, updates fix them and make sure that they can't be exploited by the malware that we've been talking about. It's also super critical that you make sure that your antivirus or your endpoint security application is up to date, because that's your first line of defense in many cases against these threats. Also, whenever possible, make sure you got multi-factor authentication turned on. That adds an extra layer of security. So even if credentials are compromised, that's gonna block. It's not perfect, right? We're seeing more and more types of attacks that are able to bypass MFA or trick users into giving their MFA credentials and getting in, but it's still an additional step that prevents many types of attacks from getting in. Also, make sure you're educating your team. I talked just now about social engineering, and the best way is training your employees to spot and detect those type of attacks, phishing and social engineering attacks. That really is the best thing you can do, because that is often the first entry point into all the other types of attacks. All right, also, next tip here, make sure that you're backing up your data. I've talked about it before. It's the 3-2-1 rule. You want 3 copies of your data in 2 different places, one of them being offsite, right? So secure regular backups will help to make sure that you can recover from any type of attack, whether it's ransomware or some other type of attack, without having to be down as long or having to pay those ransoms. Tip number 5 here, I think we're on number 5, use advanced endpoint protection. Not just antivirus and not just a free antivirus. Make sure you have a new next-gen advanced endpoint protection application that detects and blocks evolving threats like polymorphic malware. It needs to look at the behavior of what's going on your system, and it needs to look for indications of compromise, not just files that might match a signature, because that's really the old way of doing things. You also need to limit access to your systems. Make sure you're using role-based permissions so that not everybody has access to everything, right? You only want key personnel to have access to any sensitive data. That just limits the exposure to that data. Make sure that your email is secure with email security protocols in place to detect and block phishing attempts and malicious attachments. And once again, like, this isn't perfect because these criminals are always evolving and always finding new ways around things. But you want to make sure that you can block as much as you can and then train your end users to recognize the stuff that slips through. Also, it's critical that you have monitoring in place for your network. You want to make sure that you're looking at traffic on your network to spot any suspicious activity. You want to see if there's data being sent off-site. You want to see if there's any indications of compromising that network traffic that might be fileless malware that's running on a computer, which leads to using firewalls. You want to block everything from the outside coming in. You want to block to protect your perimeter, but you also want firewalls in each of your devices to limit any exposure. If one system gets compromised, that's not going to be able to spread. You want to make sure you're keeping as much of that out. And these steps really, this is not an all-inclusive list, right? These are like your first line of defense. If you're doing these things, then you're in a healthier position with your cyber resilience. That doesn't necessarily mean all of your risk is covered. There's many different lines of defense that we recommend that you layer on top. So it's important that you stay proactive and keep your business secure. Are you aware of, were you already aware, I guess, of the latest malware threats that I talked about today? If so, great, right? That's wonderful, right? Staying up to date on the latest threats. So my next question would be, are you confident that your current systems are keeping your business fully protected from these threats? Is your current IT provider doing the necessary things to make sure that one as much as possible is being blocked, but that there's a quick ability to detect and respond to anything that does get through? If you're not sure about that, I'd love to have a conversation with you about doing a cybersecurity risk assessment to help to analyze if those proper protections are in place and to take a closer look at your overall cybersecurity strategy. I'm here to help businesses like yours to stay ahead of these evolving threats, which can sound pretty scary. So whether it's strengthening your defenses, streamlining the technology you have, or just double checking and making sure that you're covered, we've got the tools and expertise as a team to help work with you and guide you on those strategies. You can check out the links to my contact info and a full transcript of today's discussion in the chat and the video description below. All right, let's take a look and see if we've got any comments or questions. Looks like Adam commented, hello, thanks for watching. We appreciate that. Not necessarily any questions there, but we appreciate anybody taking the time watching. So I don't see any, like I said, I don't see any questions from our live audience. Thanks for watching today, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching after the fact. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this. We hope that this was informative and this was helpful and beneficial to you. If you did find it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment with any questions or thoughts you might have. Your feedback really does help us to make better content that's valuable to you, which is our goal. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you can receive any future updates that we post out there. Remember, knowledge is power, and we're here to help you to navigate the world of technology and cybersecurity safely. If you need any further assistance, please comment on here, reach out to me via direct message, or you can find us on our website at itnet.works. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week.